Great evening. I would like to welcome you to the virtual Meet the Candidate Forum on behalf of our chapter president, Danielle Little. My name is Kamisha Hughes. I am co-chair of the Social Action, Political Awareness and Involvement Committee of the Warner Robins Alumnae chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is a nonprofit and nonpartisan public service organization. Our national president and CEO is Beverly E. Smith. We have over 1,000 chapters worldwide. We provide an extensive array of public service initiatives through our 5-point programmatic thrust: educational development, economic development, international awareness, physical and mental health, political awareness, and involvement. Our chapter has over 160 members who implement programs throughout Bleckley, Houston, and Pulaski counties. Tonight's forum was organized by our Social Action, Political Awareness and Involvement Committee. We appreciate each of our participants who are Warner Robins City Council Post 1 candidates. We look forward to hearing from each of them as they share their platform. I will now turn it over to 13 WMAZ Morning News anchor, Caitlin Heck, as she briefs us on tonight's forum.
Gotta love technology, but I'm so excited to be here. I'm very excited to be part of. Thank you. As we know, voting is so important. That is how you have your voice heard in your community. That's how you can inspire change and make a difference in your community by voting for the people who you want to represent you. So I'm very excited to be part of this. And we're glad that you joined us for the Voter Education Forum so you can meet these candidates for the Post 1 seat for Warner Robins City Council. So this forum is also going to include a little bit of fun with some social action bingo. So you have to pay attention. So see the link in your chat box to get your card. The game can be played on all the devices. And when you hear the words that are mentioned in your card, you can check your box electronically, and the winners will get a $25 gift card. So you definitely want to pay attention for that. So now we are going to introduce the fellow moderators for the night. We have Miss Laprelle Todd. We'll start with her, member of the Warner Robins Alumnae chapter, a contract specialist at Robins Air Force Base, and grant manager at Houston County Health Department for Nurse Family Partnership, and serves on the Central Georgia Joint Development Authority. She has a passion for serving the community, enjoys event planning, traveling, visiting museums, and searching for unique art pieces. Also with us tonight, we have Reverend Daryl Vining, pastor of Hebron Fellowship Baptist Church, also a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Pastor Vining's been a Warner Robins resident since 1995. In 2005, Pastor Vining co-founded and serves as the senior pastor at the Hebron Fellowship Baptist Church. He's been on several committees and boards throughout the community that help deal with the concerns of the homeless, youth, mentoring, and community health. Now, Pastor Vining's also served as the associational moderator for Rehoboth Baptist Association in Middle Georgia. Pastor Vining's personal mission is just to assist others in fulfilling the call in their life and training up others who are willing to lead by example as well as by word. So thank you both for being here as well.
Thank you, Caitlin. Good evening.
Well, if everyone is ready, we are going to get started with the first round. So you'll get an opportunity to meet each candidate in this round. They'll be given 3 minutes to share a little bit of information about themselves, their platform, and their vision for this position. So let's go ahead and meet the stars of the show, the candidates this evening. Of course, we have Ms. Catherine Harless, we have Mr. Derek Mack, and we have Mr. David Reed with us this evening. And we're going to do this by alphabetical order. So thank you all again, all three of you, for joining us this evening. So within 3 minutes, can you each briefly share a little bit about your platform, your vision, and yourself as well? So we're going to start with Ms. Catherine Harless this evening.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Harless. I am running for the Warner Robins City Council Post 1 at Large. To begin, I would like to extend my condolences to the family of the first fire chief of Warner Robins, Chief Ernest Wood, a highly respected man in our community who will be greatly missed. I have lived in the city of Warner Robins most of my life and attended Macon State College. I'm a single mother to a daughter who graduated from Warner Robins High School and Auburn University. I'm a daughter of a veteran who supports veterans. I became involved in municipal government when I worked at the city of Centerville as their water clerk, then promoted to deputy city clerk from 1990 to 1995. Another occupation I am proud of was a Department of Defense contractor for 17 years. Currently, I work for Robins Air Force Base as a configuration management specialist for 5.5 years. As a configuration management specialist, I am the single point of contact in my office that manages foreign military sales, sustainment, contract requirements, and support my assigned country program managers. My work experience has prepared me to serve this community as the next City of Warner Robins Council member. There will be a lot for me to learn from this position, but I have the attitude, willingness to learn, and consistent effort. I'm here to announce my candidacy for the Warner Robins City Council seat, post 1 at large. I love this city and I want to continue to support her through the responsibility as a city council member. I have lived in Warner Robins for 37 years and I have always enjoyed being a part of this community.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Harless. And now we're going to hear from Mr. Derek Mack.
Hi, how's everybody doing tonight? Hope that everyone is well. Hello to the other candidates. My name is Derek Mack, and I consider myself a lifelong citizen of the great city of Warner Robins. I'm a Thomas Tornado, I am a Tabor Tiger, and I'm a Northside Eagle. I enlisted in the United States Army in 1988, where I served my country faithfully, and I'm a veteran of 3 foreign campaigns. I was a member of the Louisiana National Guard, where I attended college at Delgado Community College and Southern University at New Orleans. Go Jaguars. I moved back to Warner Robins in 1995, and I'm currently work on Robins Air Force Base as an aircraft logistics specialist in the 561st Maintenance Squadron, which we overhauled the F-15 Eagle E, D, and C model aircraft. I'm running for city council because I'm a person of servitude, and I'm a boots on the ground kind of guy, and I love my city, and I want to serve it at a greater capacity. And I believe through my life experiences and the passion that I have for the city that I'll be a great candidate for this post at large.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Mr. Mack. Now, Mr. Reed. I think you might be muted. There we go.
Okay, can you hear me now? Can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. On my side, it still shows as muted. First, let me thank you and the Alumni chapter for allowing us to participate in this forum this evening. It's greatly appreciated, the time and effort involved. But let me introduce myself a little bit, probably personally. My name is David Reed. I've been in Warner Robins now just over 21 years. I'm happily married to my wife, Kim. I have 3 grown children, 2 of which graduated from Northside High School. We still live on the north side of town. Been interested in the city government for the past 3 years quite deeply, starting and founding the Facebook page at Up Is Enough in Warner Robins, where I learned a lot of information and research into the city government. Been trying to provide that information to the citizens of the city for the past 3 years, but now I'd like to take that information and bring the citizens to the city. Take it back. Be a little more proactive versus reactive. Part of my platform is going to include, and you'll hear more about it later tonight, on increasing communication and transparency from the government to the people. And also look to work on blight, improving the perception and image that our city has to offer. We're going to support growth in our small business and do a lot of industry recruitment. We're going to work on continuing the support for Warner Robins Air Force Base and their families, military families here in town. We're also going to work on supporting our police department and fire departments by improving the number that we have, as well as the service that we provide. And I'd like to be your candidate for City Council here in Warner Robins, post 1. And again, I thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you so much for that. And we do want to note that Mr. Jeffrey Walker is also on the ballot and was invited to be here this evening. Unfortunately, he's unable to make it. So he is the 4th candidate running for this position. Well, now that we've been able to meet the candidates a little bit, hear from them, we're going to move on to round 2. And each candidate will be asked a series of questions and given a 2-minute time limit to answer. So Ms. Tan is going to start with those questions. I think you're muted.
All right, thank you. All right, candidate, here's your first question. Considering our national environment regarding equality and that Warner Robins is known as an international city, what is your vision for the diversification in our city government? Ms. Harless?
Well, as for diversification for the city, I believe we need to have a voice, a female voice again in the city. We had at one time City Councilman Carolyn Robbins. I think we need to have that again as to support the government through a female's perspective and continuing the economic growth for the city by just collaborating with a lot of other communities, authorities in the county, and especially for the small businesses, working with them, and which is a big issue here because a lot of small businesses are hurting, if not out of business. And just hopefully that could strengthen them in the long run because the corporations and everything, the big businesses are great for our community, but it's we need to help strengthen the small business people, owners, and hoping that my position being there can be a voice for them as well.
Thank you, Ms. Harless. Mr. Mack, same question. Considering our national environment regarding equality and that Warner Robins is known as an international city, what is your vision for diversification in our city government?
First of all, I'd like to state that I consider myself to be the all-inclusive candidate for that very reason, as I'm a direct witness of the international city. I grew up in it. It was a commingled community where everybody got along, everyone worshiped together, they had fun together, our kids played together, spent the night together, ate together at the same restaurants, and it was a culture that everybody wanted to be a part of. And part of that culture is the reason why a lot of people leave that were enlisted members here and come back to retire because of that spirit of the international city. And through my campaign and through my prowess into being an impetus to draw that energy back to the city is very important to me because I saw how every area, every street, every snippet of this community commingled together to help move this city forward collectively. The only time the city was divided was during the Northside Warner Robins football game, and it split right down the middle down Watson Boulevard. And after that, we all went to the same places and bragged about our teams that won. It flip-flopped every other year. So my plan to do that is just being an all-inclusive candidate and be a sincere voice for every candidate to ensure that they have a true sense of involvement in the city. I want to be their voice, their direct liaison to City Hall to make sure that they're involved in the decisions that are being made on this city because every citizen in this city, their tax dollars count. And that's at the forefront of my mind. I'm not a reporter of city business. I'm a doer of city business. I'm in and out of every facet of this community with the people in this community. And it starts with our neighborhoods, taking ownership of our neighborhoods and our small businesses and our big businesses. We all have a collective effort to move this city forward in the spirit of the international city so that it can truly step into its purpose. That's my goal. That's my number one goal, because when you stay in the realm of emotions and opinions, you stay divided. But we stay on the true side of facts, and everybody says that they want to move the city forward, commingling our environment and creating a culture or recapturing the culture of the international city should be self-evident. If you're anything outside of that, that's not what you're here for. I'm a witness of it. I lived in it. I grew up in it. And that's what makes my background so diverse, because of the trained mind and thoughts and the experiences that I have had growing up in Warner Robins, Georgia, the city that I love so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mack. Mr. Reed, same question. Considering,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, you don't need for me to read the question?
No, diversity in the city government.
Okay.
We definitely need it. Yeah, we definitely need it. And that leads into one of my first priorities, and that's open communication from our city government to the citizens. I think we've lacked that. We find out a lot of things after a vote has taken place versus prior to, giving all the citizens of the city an opportunity to either show their support or potential opposition and have open discussion. So what I'd like to see, as far as including everybody into our city government, is more than 30 people show up to the city council meeting. By doing that, it's very difficult sometimes for people to get off of work, or they can't travel to there, or are disabled, to get into our city hall to be participatory in our government. So what we need to do is take an outward approach on the city website, the newspapers, more on the news, city Facebook page, put out all the information that we possibly can to include everybody. People that can't drive, people that can't make it there, people that are at work that can view a meeting later on in the evening when they get home from work, or when they have time to sit with their family and be involved and discuss it. There's not an open forum via the city to have discussions on different aspects of what's going on, what's getting ready to be voted on. It's not all inclusive at the moment. It's very limited on who can show up at a meeting at any given time. So part of my thing that I'd like to do is introduce an ordinance that would require all meetings that the city holds that will be open to the Georgia Open Meetings Act be recorded, be streamed, where you can go to the city Facebook page, you can go on the online website and be able to view a meeting and have an opportunity to voice your opinion on there, get more people involved. My daughter currently can't make it into a city hall meeting in her wheelchair. She would have to sit out in the hallway. That's not very inclusive. That's not bringing diversity into our city hall. What we need to do is open the doors, open all the channels of communication, and bring the information to the citizens so we can all be involved. That is true community. And that's one thing that I would like to do very first day, is bring that communication to everyone. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Reed. We'll move on to question number 2. Just as a friendly reminder, you have 2 minutes for this question. Animal control is a subject that very seldom gets brought up. Would you make a special effort to help more animals get adopted out of our animal shelter? Ms. Harless?
Yes, I would. I'm an animal lover myself. And there is a need of big attention for that area. Unfortunately, you do see a lot of runaway dogs and cats all over the city, as well as you do for the homeless, unfortunately. And fortunately, that we do have a community, a lot of churches in the city that support the homelessness, and that is really needed, even to feed them and everything. And we need to teach to help also in the animals, especially cruelties. I've had a lot of friends that have supported that. A lot of the animal shelters, privately owned small businesses, and because it costs money, and it definitely needs support, financial support from everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Harless. Mr. Mack, same question. Animal control is a subject.
Go ahead.
Do you need the question read?
No, ma'am.
Do you need the question read? Thank you.
No, ma'am. All right. Right now, the city of Warner Robins handles animal control for the base, Centerville, and Warner Robins. What I'd like to do is strengthen our adoption program for our animals and create an animal authority, a sheltered authority throughout all three entities to include the base, Centerville, and Warner Robins to share the burden of cost concerning the animal shelters here in Warner Robins, Georgia. Since we're handling the entity for the base, Centerville, and Warner Robins, but we're the only one carrying the burden of funding it. We need to share that wealth by creating an animal shelter authority. And that's how I would handle that issue as far as our animal shelter is concerned, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Reed?
Okay, it's definitely important to have a partnership with our animal control and our rescue shelters. We have several rescue shelters, but they completely rely upon donations, civic leaders to assist them in their operations to help prevent having a kill shelter in town. I know it quite well. My stepdaughter volunteers at one. But we do charge the other cities for processing, but it's nowhere near enough. Versus an authority, I think we have enough authority boards currently in Warner Robins. I'd like to see a citizen committee potentially involved to look at different aspects in the city, this being one of them, because we do need to get a handle on animal control. Another aspect to look at with the animal control is crime. They go hand in hand together in quite a few ways. When we have abuse toward an animal, we also have that abuse towards people. So this is something that we definitely need to take a look at. But I would agree with Mr. Mack that we need to have the other partners in our area, other cities that are participating in our shelter, make sure that they're paying their dues and assisting in every way they can with the crime prevention portion of it. We definitely need to have a citizen committee involved versus another city authority.
Thank you. Thank you for your answers. Now we'll go to Reverend Vinan.
I'm so glad that you all have taken out the time and schedules to be with us tonight. Candidates, here are your next round of questions. I'm going to ask the question once, and then you can answer in the same order that you just did with Ms. Harless, Mr. Mack, and then Mr. Reed. My question is this: since the city of Warner Robins is a $100 million budget, what experiences do you have that qualifies you to appropriate the tax dollars efficiently?
Let's see here. Hold on a second. Sorry.
Did you all hear the question? I just wanted to be certain.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Currently, I work for Robins Air Force Base as a configuration management specialist, and doing so, I support the program managers with their contract requirements. I've had several years of either being an office manager in the private sector to being a senior analyst, knowing reports for the United States Air Force side, including the private sector of mega corporations. I bring experience here. All that work, I've had training and knowledge that has prepared me to serve this community as the next city council member here for our community.
Mr. Mack?
For your question. I work in a really rapid, fast-paced environment as I'm an aircraft logistics specialist for the F-15. It's a $100 million aircraft in itself. And I manage the process of overhauling this aircraft from the wheels down to the wheels up concept as it comes to Warner Robins Air Force Base and back out to the warfighter. It's a rapid pace as the aircraft is flowing down the critical path of the PDM process. We're making multi-million-dollar decisions as the aircraft continues to move. We synchronize all of our back shops to run a lean process to ensure that we don't have waste in our efforts. So therefore, I feel as though because of my training in that rapid pace environment to create a safe environment in a lean processing environment, that I have the skills to multitask with the budget of Warner Robins by putting the citizens first and considering their tax dollars in every decision that we make. And if it's something that may not be on the right side of what they like, be able to explain why we made the decisions that we made. And like I said, I agree with Mr. Reed. We have to be completely transparent and create a sense of involvement as to why we make decisions that we make. But my experience as an aircraft logistics specialist, or shall I say a production controller, controls the flow and the synchronization of all of the components that go in place to make that aircraft safe component to fly to defend our great nation.
Mr. Reed.
In business management, handling payrolls, profit and loss statements. I've also had a couple of years of college specifically for business management. So 30 plus years of managing Fortune 500 companies, looking at total sales, total revenues, costs, payroll, health insurance. Covering that for 30 plus years, I have a vast knowledge on budgeting in excess of millions of dollars. I've also researched our own city budgets for the past 3 years. Tried to get the city to follow our current ordinances that required our budgets to be presented to the citizens prior to them voting on the budgets. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to succeed in them completing the required the meetings, but we will. We will have them, and we will involve the citizens in every aspect of it openly with transparency. I believe my experience in the 30 plus years of managing businesses qualifies me to oversee the allocation of our budgets. Although our city department leaders are the ones that bring it to the mayor and the mayor presents it to us, we do have to review it, and we will eventually have to approve it. We will take a good look at it, and everybody will be involved in that process early on, not afterward, but early on from the beginning.
Thank you all so much for your answers. My second question involves more support at Robins Air Force Base. And I would like for you to expound upon your yes or no in consideration of this question. Would you agree to begin the G-Ramp project, which is the Georgia Robins Aerospace Maintenance Partnership, using the 91 acres of city-owned property adjacent to Robins Air Force Base to develop private industry, and why? Or why not?
That's a tough question, but I would have to say yes. But I'm hoping that the city of Warner Robins would have the fundings to help support that. And if that's the case, then where are they going to get that money? As a taxpayer for 37 years here in the city, I've seen the taxes go up, and I've seen mayors and council members not manage the money as well. As some years better than others, and I don't know if there is hopefully enough funding, like I said, to support this. When I say that, it takes a lot more than just purchasing land and then selling it to the Air Force Base, and it's preparing it and ensuring that there's safety in the neighborhoods that may be affected with it. And again, all that costs money. So, there would be extensive analysis reports on that to make sure that it can be done. If it can't be done, then it can't be done. I'm sure the Air Force would help out as well, but that's what's part of the communicating and collaborating between the city and the Economic Development Authority and with the Robins Air Force Base as well, to ensure that they will provide a clean and healthy living conditions with less pollution and not cost so much for the city of Warner Robins citizens.
Mr. Mack?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Vining, for that question. I think I'm in complete agreement with GRAMP. When we have another round of BRAC, which is a base realignment and closure studies, we need to strengthen our relationship with the Department of Defense, as we've had this initiative in place since 2017, and that's grown stagnant. And we have this acreage that have been studied and capable of being built upon. We need to also create an initiative that will further entice other industries to come here, as Warner Robins, or as Robins Air Force Base is the largest industrial complex in the state of Georgia. And we need to do more to invite industry, even if it's not directly with the Air Force, but even contractors, to try to create a culture where we can sustain the homegrown talent, the college graduates, create more jobs, which in turn will have more tax dollars flow directly into our communities, our small businesses, our restaurants, our car dealers, and so forth. And even if BRAC does decide to leave here, we will still have those industries that are built and tied in to Robins Air Force Base as a joint effort for the military, the civilian sector, and bringing more industry to the area that will further increase our revenue and place more money into our enterprise funds. And also, I went into the Georgia Municipal website, where GRAMP was supposed to be a continuous process in the area for our aerospace and defense logistic personnel and so forth. So I'm in complete agreement with that, Mr. Vining, and that's the reason why I think we should move forward. And that's one of the top things that I want to look into if I'm elected to City Council Post 1, sir.
Mr. Reed.
Okay, I would have to just give this a potential yes. We would need vastly more information brought to the public to make a very educated decision on this. GRAMP has been discussed for many years. There's been many years it's been delayed or put off. We need to find out those reasons why. It'd be very difficult for me to say yes or no without having all the details and all the facts first. It's not something we want to just jump into. We need to know the pros and the cons prior to making a decision. Does the base have something coming up, or other projects being a maintenance wing that, if we did open the GRAMP up, would just prevent us from having future projects coming into the base related to the military, since we would bring in civilian aspects to it. So I would need much more information prior to giving a definitive yes or a no answer on this. And I think that is something that definitely needs to be brought up again. It's been many years since there's been a deep conversation on it, but it would be something I would definitely look at to make sure it benefited the entire city prior to giving a definitive answer on it tonight.
Thank you all so much for your answers. I'm going to turn it back over now to Ms. Heck for our final round.
Thank you so much. So for this next round of questions, we are actually going to reverse order. So Mr. Reed, we're going to start with you to answer this next question, then on to you, Mr. Mack, and then to you, Ms. Harless. So again, you have 2 minutes. And here's this question. With the increase of crime in the city, what are your plans for increasing law enforcement without raising taxes? Mr. Reed, we'll start with you.
Yes, great question, and very high on my list of priorities. That's why I started my research for the city, is because we're so under budgeted in police officers. Look at our national averages and state averages. We are vastly below the number of officers we should have for the number of citizens we have. The way we improve our police department is by improving our economic development. We need to bring industry in. We need to recruit business in. We're the 11th largest city in the state out of 499 cities. There's no reason why we don't have large businesses, big developers pounding on our doors, begging to build here. We need to open our doors up. We need to invite them in. We need to improve our perception of the city and how clean we are. We improve on our blight, we'll improve on crime. We bring in industry, we bring in big business, we will bring in the tax dollars. Not only will that improve our tax base, that increases our enterprise funds. Since we own the water and natural gas, we also get the benefit from that. We need to start budgeting probably 5 officers per year over the next few years to slowly gain a better average of number of officers per resident. Right now, statistically, we are about 70 police officers short to be at that average. No way we can hire 70 police officers anytime soon, nor should we even consider it. We're very fortunate to have a phenomenal police department Every officer is very well trained, very professional, very personal. We have great leadership in our fire department and police departments. What we need to do is begin to bring business in to improve our tax base, increase our tax dollars, increase our revenue funds. Then we can slowly begin to increase the number of officers. We've only increased our number of officers by 5 officers over the last 20 years. Considering all the amount of growth that we've had, we need to change that. So I believe we start to work on our blight, our presentation to the city, to invite businesses to come in. We will see that improvement slowly begin to come in, where we can improve the number of officers we have, which will definitely improve our safety and our crime numbers.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Mr. Mack, same question.
I'm an advocate for the great police staff that we have, but currently we weren't able to pay them the pay that they need, as their pay is not at the same rate as inflation within the city. I'm in agreement with Mr. Reed, as we need industry here to offset all the rooftops that we're building. We lose money per the rooftops versus the industry that we have, and it also it is at capacity for our police officers to respond to things as the city spreads widely. I feel as though we need to stop expanding on our home building and probably come back inward, invite industry into the city and take over some of these blighted buildings, whether it be small industry or large industry, so that we could increase our enterprise fund, not only to hire police officers, but we need to raise their pay so that we can sustain great talent that comes through here, versus training someone, wasting the money and training a new officer, and they're not able to pay their bills because they're not getting paid enough money. We need to identify the constraints within our enterprise funds and find a way and prioritize our resources into a way that make that well, because it's sick right now. We need to do a lot, because Warner Robins is known as a safe city. And we need to invest in our police officers and work with our police chief and find out what his constraints are, and find out why the overturn and the overhead is what it is, so that we can do well in support of our police force. And one way of doing that is creating industry versus rooftops to offset that, so that we can pay them the true salary that they deserve, to include our fire department, because we're at capacity, and the more houses we build, it affects us as far as being able to respond to the calls that the police officer has, because we're short-staffed. It's simple. Identify the constraints, constraint resolution, allocate resources to make the police department well, so that we can continue to be the safe city that Warner Robins is known for.
Thank you, Mr. Mack. And Ms. Harless.
Yes, I believe in regards to the police department, we do need to reduce the turnovers in there. That entail will save money on the training. As we all know, crime costs more than the police officers. And it's just hard to retain police officers here. Again, like everybody said, because of the salaries to make a living. At the present time, the City of Warner Robins does not employ a grant writer. One of the first recommendations I would bring would try to help our city is a grant writer to identify grant funding opportunities by writing, submitting, and managing grant proposals. The City of Warner Robins can acquire financial resources from a grant writer that will help small businesses and support the City of Warner Robins operations, like increasing the police force and fire departments, including their equipment. We can do this with council mayor that wants what is best for Warner Robins. I will help the community maintain lower taxes, be efficient with their tax dollars, and help provide a timely budget. And I believe a grant writer could be a great support for the city.
Thank you, all three of you, for your answers to that question. And this is going to be our final question before we're going to hear from our audience. So again, we're going to go in that same order: Mr. Reed, Mr. Mack, and then Ms. Harless. Since the state of Georgia legislators restructured the City of Warner Robins charter last year, implementing a city administrator, what is your plan to work with the mayor, council, and now city administrator? Mr. Reed.
Well, the new city charter is very well written, very well done, and very timely. In our past, it seemed like we had too many people attempting to make day-to-day decisions for the city versus the role of a council member and being in basic legislation and appropriation. So we needed a city administrator to assist the mayor in the day-to-day operation. One of the first things I would like to do is make sure that we have one appointed. We have an interim acting administrator at the moment. We need to finalize a person that will be with us and truly put every effort into making the city of Warner Robins bigger and better with proper growth and proper attention. That way the city council members can focus on the legislation and appropriation, not getting involved in the day-to-day business. So the city charter defines that. It spells it out. It spells out the roles of each member or leadership of the city. So the city charter needs to be followed. It needs to be followed just as well as the state laws do. So it's a little overdue. Should have been done years ago, but we're glad to have it happen now. We just need to make sure that mayor and council all approve the right person for the job. Make sure they have the city's best interest in mind every day they come into work. Not partnered with other cities, not working with in other areas or contracted in different areas. They need to be focused solely on the day-to-day operations of our business, allowing the mayor to go out and promote the city, bring that industry, bring that business into the town, to partner with the base, to work with the city departments individually a little better with working on the blight, code enforcement. We need to improve our code enforcement department, maybe double the number of people that we have out there. That's something that the city administrator's job should be looking at very deeply. So hopefully that person that eventually gets put into place, very well educated, very well experienced, and has our best interest at heart to allow us part-time council members properly understand the legislation and appropriation that needs to take place.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. And same question to you, Mr. Mack.
Yes, my plan is to work directly with the mayor and the current council to really figure out what his plan of implementing the charter moving forward and what his end results are with the plan that he has in place. I think we need to really concentrate on being proactive instead of reactive, like Mr. Reed stated earlier, because we want to be ahead of anything by one way looking at I call it a 5-day look ahead, and also call it something that I want to call it the Warner Robins repair enhancement process, and it's to be able to identify issues before they happen so that we can again allocate our resources to do that. We need to all work together with the administrator and possibly a city manager to free up the mayor to do things like try to bring industry here so that we can increase our revenue coming into the city. Also, it's important to me because we have like I stated earlier, we have a lot of talent that's homegrown here in Warner Robins. Our young people that can't earn a substantial wages to raise their families. They have to move away, earn a living, and then come back at a retirement age. But a lot of people don't want to leave here because we're in a collision with complacency in the city. And there's a problem there. We need to identify why that's going on. And I think by working directly with the council and the mayor, collectively creating a plan to identify these issues as to why our funds are being depleted, why we're contracting out our resources for other entities. That's money that we could be putting also into our enterprise funds. And that's what I plan to do. Just really get in, not kick in doors, waving guns, but ask the right questions and lean on the tenured leadership that's already in the council and on the mayor so that we can all get smarter and work collectively along the facts of the charter that's in place currently.
Thank you, Mr. Mack. And Ms. Harless, your thoughts?
Yes, I'm familiar with the charter. I think it was installed or incorporated in 2019, and I was waiting on the city administrator as well to start working and full time and everything. And I know that person's not been hired yet. And having a city administrator, it will give continuity and a fair opportunity for city businesses, taking the politics out of it. Also, as a professional, a city administrator will work with day-to-day operations with the department heads, and the mayor wouldn't have to be involved with all that. And I think the city manager is well needed. I think we are, the city of Warner Robins, I think, is one of 3 cities that still have a mayor and council member organization here. And I've heard that that's why we have that new charter, so we can have a city administrator, a part-time mayor, and the council members as well. I think that would be a lot better structure for the city of Warner Robins to do business.
Thank you so much, all 3 of you, for your answers to those questions. We're going to bring back Ms. Todd, and we're going to start the question and answer session with questions from our audience now.
All right, thank you. So we have a question from the audience, and we would like for the order of questioning or answering the question from the candidates to be Mr. Mack, Mr. Reed, and then Ms. Harless. The question is, when it comes to contracts, can we utilize the businesses that are local versus bringing in companies from out of town?
I'd like to answer that, if I may. I think it's very important to utilize our mom and pop shops to help facilitate the contracts for the base, as it strengthens the relationship with the Department of Defense and our city. Base realignment and closure is a real thing. If you don't believe me, just ask the constituents of Kelly Air Force Base when they closed that Air Force Base down, and they didn't know what to do, and they had to move all their resources to another state. So if we strengthen our relationships with our contractors, with our local businesses, our small businesses, and our large businesses, there will be advocates with the Pentagon to keep this base here, because every day the workload can shift and move at any given time. Hill Air Force Base in Utah utilizes fighter jets and the C-130s. If they take the C-130 workload from Robins Air Force Base and or move the F-15 workload to Hill Air Force Base, that flight line is going to die expeditiously, to include the C-5, which they've already planned to retire at some point, as its workload is dwindling with the uprising of the C-17. So we need to include everyone in this community in strengthening our relationship with Robins Air Force Base. And to go back to the G-ramp thing, G-ramp, if you don't understand, a joint runway will invite other industry here that our local businesses and our local contractors could benefit from as well. We can fly big planes in here like FedEx, Amazon, UPS. On the north end of our runway, the land is there for us to build upon and create jobs that can tie in and ensure contracts with our local community. For instance, if we have a warehouse like Amazon or FedEx for that matter, it'll open up areas for contracts in our city for people to have box trucks to deliver those goods directly to the consumer, to lower the time it takes to get the product to the consumer throughout the middle Georgia area and beyond that, as it will turn into a hub of revenue for our city, our state, and it will help our local business owners grow, especially in this time of COVID. It is no-touch culture that we're currently experiencing.
Thank you. Mr. Reed.
Please repeat the question for me.
Sure. When it comes to contracts, can we utilize the businesses that are local versus bringing in companies that are out of town to fulfill those contracts?
Absolutely. We should look internally first. As we look back the last few years, we've hired consultants from different areas of the state, different areas of the country to try to grow our city, versus hiring people that we have already here that know the city, are passionate about the city, and will put the city's best interest first. The contractors and advisors and consultants that we brought in did not have our city first in mind. They work on with our city and many others. Very intelligent, smart people, but not involved in day-to-day living, growing up, work, play, live in our city. We have the people here. We have the knowledge here. we should always seek inside versus outside. If the individual, if a contractor has been here 10 years, they know the city. They know it best. They know what's going to drive the positive growth, not negative growth. If we've looked at what the outside advisors that we contracted to look into our development authority, we resulted in 5 projects, 3 of which are lawsuits. They didn't have the best interest of our city in mind. We've got attorneys, we've got builders, we've got designers, we've got engineers. We have no need to seek outside of our own area to develop our area. We need to develop from within. Somebody that develops in Atlanta, they may be very good in Atlanta, but it's not Warner Robins. We need to build our town. We need to be positive growth at our town and the internal people. Sometimes we might need to seek outside guidance as far as legalities. That should be very minimal, and only when we don't have the personnel here that feels comfortable or confident in doing it. But we need to keep as much as we can here in-house in county. We have the talent here. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Harless?
Yes, I think we already utilize some of the small business owners, local businesses with contracts with the city of Warner Robins, and we do have to sometimes go outside to make sure, whatever projects that's going to be built, developed, it's necessary to get that outside guidance as well. I think luckily we have a great county that has a great educational system. The House Board of Education is awesome. Our children are the product of it. They've been able to attend higher education and return to Warner Robins, and which the city will benefit from that and to sustain the economic growth from our future generations. And again, I believe with their training and education, and if they have employment here, that would be great to have them contracted through the city of Warner Robins and be employed. That would definitely be better serving for our community.
Thank you. Do we have another question from the audience? Okay, we have a question here. With so much emphasis on building the south side of the city, Lake Joy 96, what are the plans for economic development for the north side of the town? Mr. Reed, Mr. Mack.
Okay. North side of town is dear to me because I grew up there. Not only is it a concern of mine, but I personally reinvested in that community as I have several rental houses there to turn the culture around in that city by putting my money where my mouth is. Not only do I talk about it, but I'm there working with those constituents in that community as their tax-paying dollars are just as viable as those that pay their taxes off Lake Joy in 96. They work every day, they pay their taxes, they buy gas and food and so forth. And there's a lot of blight in that area. One, we need to identify the landowners and the landlords of those properties that may be blighted and hold them accountable and possibly place liens on them if they're not keeping up with the end of the deal is keeping those buildings in a good place for us. One thing we can do instead of expanding the city outward, we need to come back inward. Even if we have to have demolition crews come in and tear down those blighted and old plazas, rebuild them and create a space where Warner Robins can be reinvented and also have the sense of ownership within our civic organizations as well. One thing I plan on doing, because Warner Robins is low on funds. So what I had planned to do was have some civic organizations come in and pretty much adopt those areas and have the city award them and have people take ownership of those communities as well, and also would also make it attractive for business owners. But also we need to tie into our infrastructure, our streets, our fences, those properties that the city own. We need to hold everyone accountable and make sure that when this town begins to grow or it continues to grow, we need to consider those people on that side of town. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist. A new person coming into the city can see that one side of this town is growing at a rapid pace versus the other. And that's a direct reflection of our leadership going forward.
Thank you. Mr. Reed?
To the north side of town. I'm passionate about it. I've lived on the north side of town for 21 years. Still do. It's where my family lives. Two of my daughters graduated from Northside High. No intentions on moving to the south side of town. I love my house, love where I live, love my neighbors. So we would need to have a little refocus in that area. We just spent $20 million building a new rec center, which is about to open in a couple of weeks. We need to enhance that area and enhance that development that we just invested so much money into. We need to talk to the property owners that are around there and maybe build out from there. There's a lot of things that can go into it, the rec center, if we're going to invite tourism in for tournament ball. That's how we're selling it. That's how we need to promote the area around it. We need to make it inviting for these people to come in that want to participate in our rec center and our tournaments. In regard to code enforcement, we only have 5 code enforcement officers, or a total of 7 people in that department. If we want to take care of blight in the city, we need to improve that. Last year, they received just under 2,000 reports. 2,000 reports sent to them, not ones that they went out and found. We only had just a couple dozen fines out of that. So we need to improve that in that area. Let the people know that we mean business. We're going to clean it up. It's going to help crime. It's going to help their area. We're going to have more stores coming to the north side of town again. We have very limited shopping. We have to drive to either Centerville or the other side of town to have more than one place to do our grocery shopping. We need to invite them in, encourage them in. If we build it, people will show up. We need to clean up that part of town first. That's going to start with blight. It's going to be a civic piece. It's going to be a city piece. It's multifaceted to take care of that. But the north side of town needs a little attention, and I will make sure I give it that because I live in it, drive through it every day, and I work in it. So I'm very passionate about making sure the north side of town sees its fair share. Because the north side of the town is no different than the folks on the south side of town. They just live in a different portion of the town. That's all.
Thank you. Ms. Harless?
Yes, could you repeat that question, please?
Sure. With so much emphasis on building the south side of the city, Lake Joy, Highway 96, what are the plans for economic development for the north side of town?
Well, the Recreation and just built department, or the city of Warner Robins just built that brand new recreation building out there. It is beautiful, and for what I understand, there will be a tournament ball out there available, along with collaboration, I'm sure, with other facilities in Middle Georgia to do the recreation. We have that South Bibb County Recreation Department out there as well. And yes, unfortunately, north side of town has, as long as I've known it, has been a blight part of the city. And I do not know why it has been the whole time, but it has. And luckily, with this recreation department, I believe, and the Sardis Church Road exit that is now extended to 247. Hopefully, we're going to have tournament ball. We've got to have people to stay and spend the night and eat. So hopefully more business will be growing up there, hotels, restaurants to sustain that. We have Russell Parkway out there. We have the 247 connector, both extend out to I-75 to bring traffic in, and we have hotels around there. But definitely the infrastructure needs to be improved in the city of the northern part of the city. Um, I'm guessing, well, hopefully, maybe a SPLOS or some kind of economic support will help. Tax dollars again will have to go up only because the city's budget right now is, I don't think it's able to take care of that right now. So I'm hoping that with that, businesses coming in and they paying their taxes and for the property that they're going to acquire, that will start replenishing the funds for the general funds for the city of Warner Robins.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have time for one more audience question? We do, and this one is from Deja Williams, and asks, what does the council, or you as a council person, plan to do to address the homeless population? Are you willing to build a homelessness task force and utilize local nonprofits and social service providers for contributions? And you can answer in the same sequence that you just did, Mr. Reed, Mr. Mack, and then Ms. Harless.
Okay, absolutely. The city should be involved in the homeless. This is our town. These are our folks. These are our people. It doesn't matter, again, whether you live on the north side, south side, or you're homeless. We need to take care of you the same, regardless of how much money you make or how much money you don't make. We take care of each other. So we just need to build a little better partnership with civic leaders, churches. There are grants available. We have a very small shelter here, but it's mostly for youth women in the military. We need to open the doors up on a few other places. A partnership with civic leaders, church leaders, citizens, and the state. Grant money available that can assist if we request it. And as first as we've seen here recently on the news, we're finally acknowledging that we do have a problem. That's our first step. We've opened it up. Now we need to have those discussions. Again, I would prefer a citizen committee over a city-run committee to get the involvement of various aspects from different people in our town. But we definitely need to take those steps as well. We're the 11th largest city in the state. We've ignored some of these problems for far too long, or have pushed them off to the side. I'm glad to see the news taking attention to it. I see some of the social media spreading some of the awareness, and now it forces us, luckily, to start opening the discussion on it and do something about it. So there's a partnership coming. I see it.
Mr. Mack?
Yes, I'm very passionate about this subject, sir. As I stated before, I'm not a reporter of this city's business. I'm a doer of this city's business. I'm a boots on the ground kind of guy. And I learned that from my tenure in the United States Army. And as for me and my household, for our area of responsibility, my wife and I, we feed the homeless 2 or 3 times a year. As a matter of fact, on a rainy day, we created an event called the Labor of Love that was covered by 13 WMAZ, which ran a story on my wife and myself. We went out in the rain all day Saturday. We spent all night, Friday night, preparing care packages, hand warmers, masks, toilet paper, made sandwiches, and went out and created a collective point for donations and went and walked through the woods behind Walmart and all the places where homeless people were staying. And we went and gave them care packages. We did this during Thanksgiving. We forfeited our Thanksgiving dinner and prepared Thanksgiving meals for the homeless and made plates and went out throughout this community and gave them warm meals to eat on Thanksgiving to show them that they are loved, because everyone has a journey that deserves respect. And our homeless people are not throwaway people because they've just fallen on bad luck for some other reason. they have a talent that deserves respect. And with that being said, what I plan to do, and me and my wife talk about it and get with our other civic leaders to include, write some grants, hopefully we get some grant money. Those blighted buildings on North Davis Drive, those car lots that are there, what we plan to do, regardless of whether I win the seat or not, because this is a lifestyle choice that we have here to serve others. We plan on opening a transition house, a 30-day transition house, because the homeless can't get a job if they don't have an address. And we plan on working with our civic group and our local hairstylists and our barbers to come clean these people up and have job fairs for our minimum wage jobs, maybe be our fast food restaurants that come in and interview these people and give them a place so they could receive mail, so they could be contacted for interviewing purposes for a 30-day transition. Don't charge them a thing, and tap into our resources by donations and other entities to pay for it so that they can save their money and possibly get an apartment and utilize the infrastructures of certain things like the Penrose Project. So they can come take a shower, they can be dry, wash their clothes, and go to work every day. Because even if a homeless person gets a job, where they're going to wash their clothes, where they're going to take baths, where they're going to receive their mail, where they're going to put their tax reporting purposes are. So that's what the transition house that we plan to do. We call it the Lending Hand Inc. And it's a labor of love every day, 365 days of the year for Mr. and Mrs. Mack. And we've done that for 4 or 5 years now, getting out with our clothes on, walking into their communities. And the reason why I know they're people of many talents, because we communicate with them, we talk with them, we ask them how things are going. We give them our personal numbers. If you need anything, please let us know. So those transition houses, to give them an address, to get off the streets and give them another shot at life, is the plan that we have in place to move forward, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Harless?
Yes. I know there are several Middle Georgia organizations that support homelessness, anywhere from social services for the children and for veterans, for women and families and men. Thank God. This function to help the homelessness is a tough problem. And it will be for the city council, because I know there's some organizations, people helping people in Pulaski County, that they transition help people coming from jail or just out of work, veterans. We have the Vector, thank God for the veterans, for their outreach to them and supporting them with other organizations through United States Air Force. But others aren't that fortunate. And, at any rate, they're not fortunate to begin with. That's why they are where they're at. And as a community, we should help, not just the community, but the city council should look into that. Like I said, trying to transition these people back into the world and, help train them into a trade would be preferable, but they've got to want to as well. And I think, like I said, was mentioned, the social organizations, letting them know their worth to the community as well, their purpose, will help them feel more worthy of themselves and for us. You got to support people.
Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for answering the questions. Ms. Head?
Thank you so much. We are going to take one more question from our audience. What are the plans to repair the hundreds of water leaks located in the city? And Ms. Harless, we're going to start with you on this one.
Well, I guess that's going to have to come out of the not much for general funds, but if we had a supplement of the enterprise fund, that would help. We're just going to have to, again, I guess we'll have to just check and see how much that's going to cost. I don't know much about these water leaks. I do live in the south side of town, the older part, but I haven't been familiar with that. Luckily, we do have a very good water department, street department that provides the means to continue having clean water and everything as best and efficiently as they can. Um, Other than that, I'm sorry, I don't have much information about the water leaks and everything.
Okay, thank you for that answer. And Mr. Mack, we're going to go to you for your thoughts on that.
Yes, I think that's a valued question. That's at the forefront of my campaign, as I personally was directly affected by water leaks after the city repaved the roads in my neighborhood, and it cracked my runway, and water was leaking out of the middle of my driveway in my yard, and the city had to come repair the line. But when I initially called, they said that it was going to be a year wait. And I think that's completely unacceptable for any citizen that's paying taxes to have to wait that long to have their property repaired from a water leak that's on the city side. That should be number one priority, because that should be considered an emergency, because underneath that foundation, you don't know how that water is affecting the foundation by washing it away. Just 4 houses down from me, I watched thousands of gallons of water just flow down the drain. Our sewage is at capacity already, as it's running at about 90,000 gallons a day. I have several friends that have been affected by the water leak. So I know during the COVID pandemic, there were a lot of people in the water department that were off from work and so forth. But what I would like to do is get with the department head at the water department and the utilities department to see exactly what we can do and find out how many leaks we have. I heard there's over 250 leaks in the city. We need to prioritize them. And if we don't have the money to fix it, it needs to be at the top of our priority to allocate funds to get those leaks fixed as quickly as possible, and hold the contractors accountable that built these communities with these substandard pipes, because we have absolutely too many leaks in this city for the amount of money that people are paying for their properties. So if we can identify these leaks and categorize them and make them our number one priority for our citizens, just to let them know that we care and that we're involved. It seems like it's out of sight, out of mind. I know I personally called my council member that's over in my post and spoke to him directly about the water leaks. And I've had other friends that have called this city. They can't even get an answer when they call City Hall. So I'm willing to give them my direct number and set up appointments on a case-by-case basis to make this city well with the issue that we're having. Is a very bad issue in the city. And if you're walking around and don't see all the leaks in this city, you're turning a blind eye to it, because it's a very bad problem in the city. And I plan to hit it head on with the current councils. First of all, get with the department head, get with the council member that's over that area, and let's try to get it fixed. And if we don't have the money, then we need to work with the mayor and council development authority, whatever authorities that we have, and see if we could temporarily allocate our resources to fix the leaks that are bestowed upon these people's properties in which they work every day and spend their hard-earned money.
Thank you, Mr. Mack. And Mr. Reed.
Yeah, absolutely. The water leaks in town are nothing new. This has been ongoing, minimum 150 leaks per year for the last several years. It's not new. Unfortunately, it's been much like our police department and fire department, and put on the back burner as the city has grown. We've had our focus in other areas. We haven't focused a whole lot on our police department, fire department, or infrastructure, yet we're expanding. We just recently got another bond to expand our infrastructure again in the sewer and stormwater on the other sides of town. The water leaks aren't only to the north side. They're all over. I've had them in my yard. I've had my front yard dug up a couple of years ago for a major leak. In my neighborhood, we see quite a few of them. It's become, unfortunately, commonplace. I believe it's become commonplace at City Hall as well. We don't have enough personnel, same as the other departments. We have not provided as well as for each department as the growth of the city. We haven't allocated the proper funds, the proper personnel to handle the day-to-day problems. It's not going to be a quick, easy fix. It's not going to be a cheap fix, but it's one we're going to have to invest in, especially if we're going to continue to grow. We've got to fix the older areas, same as we build up the new areas. So we're going to have to invest some time and some money, maybe even subcontract out some work to catch up on the backlog of these, to get us into a place where we can feel comfortable in growing to the next level. But again, this is nothing new. The same as not proper funding for the police department, fire departments, city employees. But it is something we have to get a handle on, and we need to get started on it right away. Coming to the forefront, glad to see it again being discussed, because it's been happening for years. It needs to be brought to the forefront and handled.
Thank you, Mr. Reed, and thank you all three of you for answering those questions, and to our audience members who submitted their questions. We're going to move on now to your final comments. We're going to start with you, Ms. Harless. You each will have 3 minutes to give your final remarks.
Goals will be to continue supporting the ideas and matters that is in the best interest of Warner Robins citizens. I do not want the city's budget to exceed or be a consequence to the people of Warner Robins. It is important to have an effective and responsible and efficient city government, so lives will be better for the city. I strongly support the collaboration between the City of Warner Robins and the Economic Development Authority, in particular in their program called Smart City Community. A smart city will provide clean and healthy living conditions for Warner Robins with less pollution and a better quality of life. This collaboration provides high-quality jobs for Warner Robins, Houston County, and Robins Air Force Base. These endeavors will be the best plan for our future generations to attend institutions of higher learning and then return to Warner Robins, and will be better prepared to serve and lead in our community. There are many corporations and medium-sized businesses, including Robins Air Force Base, ensuring employment for our communities for many years. But assistance is needed for our small businesses and for the City of Warner Robins as well. There will be a lot for me to learn in this position, but I have the attitude, the willingness to learn, and consistent effort. And I hope that you will vote for me with a female voice on this council, and to make sure that your voice is heard as well. Thank you.
Oh, I apologize. Thank you, Ms. Harless. Mr. Mack, your final remarks. Mr. Mack, I'm going to stop you right there for one moment. I apologize. Your microphone is not working or on. I still can't hear you. I feel like I'm in that Verizon commercial. Can you hear me now? No, I can't hear you. You might have to log out and log back in. Why don't we move on to... Yes, we'll move on to Mr. Reed. Mr. Reed, if you want to give your final remarks, you have 3 minutes, and then we'll get back to Mr. Mack when he logs back in.
Thank you. First, let me thank you all again, the Alumni Chapter, for hosting this event tonight, letting us participate and giving us the opportunity to give you our visions. I'd also like to thank Ms. Harless, Mr. Mack, for their participation and their desire and wanting to come in and serve the city. This is certainly not an easy seat to sit in, working on getting elected. I can tell you that without any uncertainty at all. I've spent the last 3 years more than just a reporter on bringing information to the citizens of Warner Robins on the day-to-day functions of what our government does. I'd like to continue that as your next councilman, bring the voice of the people to the city, be that partner, be proactive versus reactive in bringing information out in support or opposition on ideas to take us to the next level of growth, positive growth, good growth, not just an increase in population, but an increase in our tax base and our enterprise funds. Again, I will want to work on open and transparent government. Nothing to hide, no closed doors, as much as we possibly can. Involve everybody, continue with open meetings online. Instead of just 30 people showing up, we have thousands that are viewing these meetings each and every week. It shows me that people are interested. They want to be involved. A lot of them just don't know how. We're going to bring the how to them. And we're going to make it very easy. We're going to clean up our town. We're going to give a blight the attention it's finally deserves. We're going to give that the look, the feel, the atmosphere of our town inviting to people who want to move here, live here, work here, create business, bring businesses in. We're going to support Robbins Air Force Base and their families. Part of the way we're going to do that is by cleaning our town and by introducing more police officers as we increase, by recruiting industry and business coming in. I humbly ask for your vote, your support, March 16th and early voting beginning on the 22nd. For more about me, please visit votedavidreed.com or visit my Facebook page, Enough is Enough in Warner Robins. Open conversation, anybody and everybody's welcome. Again, I thank you all very much for the forum this evening. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. And Mr. Mack, back to you.
Hi, Caitlin. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hey. Yes, as I was stating earlier, or making an attempt to state, I have 5 things that are high on my priority list to try to work with the current council and mayor to get accomplished. Working with the economic development director, who is responsible for any development in this city, to strengthen the tools that he needs to accomplish that goal, which would be the other authorities, which would be the Redevelopment Authority, the Downtown Development Authority, and the Warner Robins Development Authority. Public safety, blight, to include infrastructure and programs for our youth, are at the top of our listing with this campaign. The one thing we can't do anything with is the past. We need to be able to move forward and create that culture of inclusiveness that we once called the international city. I grew up on Ignaco Drive, where it was the thriving part of the city. I think I'm the only candidate on this campaign that has witnessed that firsthand. I saw Star Wars on North Davis Drive. I remember when that liquor store was a car wash, and Regency Apartments in Tabor Drive was full of young airmen ready to explore the city of Warner Robins and all it had to offer. And the CFC, the Winning Church, was a drive-in movie theater that me and my brother used to sneak and watch movies. And on Green Street, there was a Coca-Cola plant that everybody thought was the greatest thing, to see that Coca-Cola plant bring and take out all those Coca-Cola plants, and to include the rec center on Watson Boulevard, which was a safe haven for kids in the summertime. They raised us. Those people there were icons in our eyes. And now it's our turn to develop our youth so they can come back and be proud of the city. Give them something to be proud of, because we're on a collision course with complacency, and the city is growing backwards as Perry is growing expeditiously to the south and Macon is growing expeditiously to the north. You know, we don't need to be concerned with frivolous complaints about what somebody did in the past or anything else that's going to be disruptive, divisive, or contentious. We need to work together collectively to achieve whatever goal, to identify constraints and move this city forward so that it may step into its purpose at being the greatest city in the state of Georgia. We have one of the greatest facilities, if not the greatest facility, and we're not living up to our potential by capitalizing on its resources and what it has to offer. And we need to do that immediately. Now, if you want the same old status quo and just complacency, just existing, then I'm not your candidate. I'm the candidate that wants to see Warner Robins be the best that it can be, inclusiveness, diverse, and just a community where our kids can feel safe, our mothers can feel safe, our elderly, our youth, and our middle-aged young adults and our young adults. Give them something to do and be proud to come home to. And strengthen our relationship with the base. The GRAP project is important to me. I'm your all-inclusive candidate. I'm your all access candidate. I am homegrown. I'm just a liaison from what I call the veins of this city. The people are the oxygen that flow through the veins of the city that will flow directly into City Hall through me. Once again, I'm not the reporter of any city business. I'm a hands-on, boots on the ground, 11 Bravo infantry mindset that I believe in order to move this city forward, you need to be in the community, not just sending out reports talking about what happened over here, over here, over here, but somebody that you can feel and touch and see in the community doing the work that has the best interest when we're making decisions for every citizen's tax dollars to move this city forward. We are the greatest city in Middle Georgia. We are one of the greatest cities in the state, but we're not living up to our potential. And it's a direct reflection of our leadership, not to be accusatory, because we have many constraints that we need to offset and hurdle. But collectively, if we stay straight on the facts, remove emotions and opinions, and keep it full circle to where we can work together, there's no ceiling to what Warner Robins can be, and there will be no boundaries to hurdle when we talk about moving the city forward, as everyone always says, but we're not doing what we need to do. We're more than just a sports town for the rec department. We have a lot of, everybody's not an athlete. We have very smart people. We need IT infrastructure in this city. We need a host of other things. We have a lot of college graduates and a lot of smart people that have to leave. Why can't we keep that talent here to make our city be at its best for someone who has passion about it? And that's what I plan to do if you elect Derek Mack post-1 city council. And I just like to say, you've heard the term, the Mack train, it's a real thing, as it is an impetus and a symbol of strength for the long haul. And each car unites our hands, with each car being a citizen in the city, to work together. Because Warner Robins has a broken arm, and we need to put a cast on it and fix it and mend any relationships that have been bad. We can make it better by voting Derek Mack to City Council in March.
Thank you, Mr. Mack, and thank you all three of you for participating tonight, answering those questions and giving your remarks. We do want to go ahead and announce our bingo winners for this evening, our social action bingo. We have card numbers 21, 19, 13, and 4. You see the information there on your screen. Send your contact info to socialaction@warnerrobins-dst.org. Very exciting. Congratulations for all of you who won the social action bingo. And Ms. Todd, I believe you had some comments.
Thank you. All right. On behalf of the Warner Robins Alumnae Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, thank you to the candidates and the audience for your participation in our virtual Meet the Candidates Town Hall meeting. Thank you, and thank you.
And thank you to you, Ms. Todd, and you, Mr. Vining, for also being the moderators for this evening. And again, to our candidates, hopefully all of you who are watching tonight got a little something out of this that will help you make your informed decisions as you go to vote for this post-1 seat. I do want to give you one reminder. Mr. Jeffrey Walker was unable to be with us this evening for health reasons. You will see his name on the ballot as well. Mark your calendars. Early voting starts February 22nd through March 12th. Election day is March 16th. Remember, your vote is your voice. That is how you can make change in your community. So hopefully you all enjoyed this evening. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and have a great night.